I met my ex-husband when I was 18. He was 7 years older than me, sober, a Christian, and a narcissist. We were together for 7 years. He left when I stopped doing what he wanted me to do. My ex-husband mentally and sexually abused me. I'm so nervous, I'm sorry. My ex-husband mentally and sexually abused me. Without going into great detail in front of all of you, and to be brief, an innocence that I held very dear to me was taken away by a man. I'm sorry. I've read this 1,000 times. Okay. An innocence that I'd held very dear to me was taken away by a man that I loved and trusted. I had never felt such isolation and fear. There was only but once that I looked into the sky and asked, "Why did you allow this to happen to me?" Probably before the thought was finished, I knew that this is not what God had wanted for me. But he was the one that would carefully guide me through my journey of recovery. Let me be clear, just because I wasn't blaming God did not mean that there wasn't blame. Tool number 1, for me, understanding a narcissist was one of my first steps in recovery. For so long, I wondered why and how a man that had sworn before the Lord, our friends and family, that he would love and protect me for the remainder of our lives could do the things he did to me. Part of my reality now, and where I can rest my thoughts of agony, if I'm not a narcissist, how can I understand? I left the marriage feeling an overwhelming amount of pain and embarrassment. Words that don't begin to touch on the innermost feelings I bared. And I'm failing to mention bruised pride. Pride, interestingly enough, a word I wouldn't use to describe myself. Pride, interesting enough, a word that I wouldn't use to describe myself, but most definitely the greatest thing that kept me from God's grace. It wasn't hard to forgive my friends and family for not seeing from afar what was happening in my marriage. The forgiveness I wanted to give my ex is a bit of a different story, and still a bit of a struggle. I'll not go into detail about my divorce, I'll just say it was one of the bad ones. I do understand, though, that as long as I hold on to that resentment and bitterness, I'm only hurting myself. The reason I stand before you, though, is what happened in our marriage, behind closed doors. What I did for him, the things he made me do. I was left with my shame, unworthiness, and a feeling of never being able to wash the dirtiness away. My trauma was finding me. It's not that I couldn't sleep, but in my dreams, he would find me. Between my night terrors and my pain showing up in my relationship, I ended up on my therapist's sofa. Another tool. She told me things I didn't want to hear, took me to places in my past that I didn't want to go, and honestly had buried so deep that I thought they had gone missing. I had never experienced what our minds are capable of until that moment. Denial can be so scary. I truly believe that my mind and body were protecting itself until I was ready to work through what had been laid before me. For a long time, I knew I should have gone to see a therapist. I had a million excuses why not to go. But the reality was, I didn't want to talk about what was back there. Fear, another thing I've struggled with. I did not discover my sexual abuse until after the divorce. I knew he was mentally abusive for years. What a rude awakening to have my therapist tell me in our first session, no less, that I had been sexually abused by my husband. It wasn't necessarily an aha moment. It took a lot of time and work for me to actually say it out loud. I had romanticized what sexual abuse looked like. It's the stuff we see on Law & Order, right? Again, my pride showed up. A little voice said, "No, you wouldn't allow that in your life. You're too strong, too smart for that." At that point, besides the nightmares and the relationship episodes, I was at a different point. And I wasn't angry about my divorce. I had surrounded myself with a support system and was doing really well. The saying is, God will never give you something you can't handle. God had waited. It's all about timing. After many therapist sessions, tears, and thoughts of, I am never going back there again, I was finally willing to accept what had happened to me. I finally understood the meaning of one day at a time. For a long time, I felt I deserved punishment. I held myself higher than God's forgiveness. Another prideful moment. I'll never forget when my dear friend said, "So you're saying you're above God's forgiveness?" Another tool. and possibly the greatest of all. There were women in my life that came forward with their own stories, so brave, so humble, so willing to be changed and fulfilled in the utmost gift, sharing their pain with me, so that I could see and have hope. I realized through this, no one's pain is exactly the same, but the tools to recover are. I have seen women and men struggle with their past and let it rule their future. There is certainly more to my story. It is much unfinished, many details are missing. But one of the greatest things that I've learned is that we all have choices. They are hard and sometimes seem unclear. But if we do not forsake God's whisper, He will show us the way. And this is where I am.
And I read her story before and I got teared up again. But it's always just so profound to me, the value, like Allison even said in her story of storytelling, of the ability to hear stories and tell stories, and to be able to have voice for things that, again, are hidden by secrecy, shame, and silence. And so for me in my life, to find people that were able to resonate with an experience that I felt was solitary until it wasn't, until it was shared by many people and in many different experiences, that weren't even necessarily identical to my own. But I really am appreciative of the bravery of anybody that will tell their story. And Allison was just an amazing thing to be able to share with people here and wherever that story takes itself. You never know. So this is the thank you portion of the night to people who have had bravery and that have been able to show their own ability to get through darkness and find healing and find light and find empowerment and strength, and that are women. First, Allison, she's not an awardee, but I have a little gift set for her and a thank you for her sharing. So I wanted to give that to her first. Actually, it's wherever you go with all of your heart. It's by Confucius. And the art prints are back there as well. But when I was thinking about some of the gifts, it just felt like not just an appropriate thing for empowerment, but again, just a solid thing coming out of trauma that sort of describes the way in which we can be our own strength and the way in which also I feel like our heart is also larger than ourselves, so it's the heart that is shared with other people and the heart that we accumulate, and I think, like Michelle said, the courage that you can borrow, that you can be lent at times when you need it. I remember specifically, recently I went to Episcopal Peace Fellowship retreat in Chicago, and one of the speakers there was a woman from a wonderful place called Thistle Farms. And they have a house called Magdalene House, which is for women that have been coming out of sex trafficking. And it's one of the only facilities in the entire nation that has actual housing and a way to rebuild your life out of that. It's very hard to find a place and a way to do that. And they have a companion company that's called Thistle Farms that makes organic products like lip balm and lotions and all that stuff that's actually made by and sold by all of the women that have come out of Magdalene House and out of the program. And it's just a beautiful way to show just the sustainability of hope and care and family and sisterhood. And what she had said reiterated what Michelle had said earlier, is that, they gave me the strength and they gave me love when I didn't have any for myself until I had enough to give back to me. And so I think that's the ultimate essence of what I hope this night is, and I hope what being able to share is that we can lend each other those things when we need them, and then we can lend them back out for everyone else. And it's just kind of a beautiful circle in that way. So I would like to thank a few women that in my life and in the past year particularly that have shown courage, one of whom was not able to be here tonight, and so I'm just going to briefly share a little bit about her. We're going to show a video, but then I forgot the little card thing that has the bio on it. Anyway, so really need that. Stephanie Kuhn is, she works at Starbucks locally. You can visit her. in Delray Beach. And she was part of our Voices Out of Darkness documentary when we did the event, that awareness event. Some very brave souls came forward and told their story and their life and their traumas and their pain and their way out of their own darkness and that voice out of darkness. And her story was, again, you know, when I hear trauma every day, so, but it was profound, and again made me teary-eyed, and it was so honest and so open and so vulnerable, and at the same time so insightful. She's a very young woman, but she's been through so much, so much wisdom, and her soul is so strong, and her bravery to get through not only what she's experienced, but then to be able to, again, share it with others. She's in addiction recovery, and then she's also, which she shared in the video, so I'm sharing it here. And she's also was a survivor of trauma, of various varieties of sexual trauma and family history of trauma, and out of those experiences has been somebody who has been able to lend her voice, and then people come to her, like the way that people gravitate when they need that courage and that bravery, and she's been that person, even as much as she's been through, and even as young as she is, and when I hear voices like that, it gives me even more hope than I thought I could already have, you know, for the power and the strength of individual voices, and individual courage, and the way that people are so generous with their hearts and lending that out to other people. So although she couldn't be here tonight, she's at Starbucks, so you can probably visit her after. She had to work. But she's really a wonderful woman, and she's a brave person. And eventually we plan to have the Voice Out of Darkness videos up on YouTube, so that will be something that people can actually watch and see, because it's a really profound story. And then coming off of that, I don't know if I'm doing them in the order I have them up there, but anyway, Candy Birth is somebody who has also exhibited an extensive amount of bravery. That was the photo she sent me, was the after picture. It was a pre-trauma, pre-darkness picture, and then that was the beautiful after picture. And it's just amazing to see how we can transform. And I love the idea that the Palm Beach County Services, that the Butterfly House out of Wellington is called the Butterfly House, because it's that idea that we kind of, you know, we can manifest and we can become new and we can become something beautiful and transform. And to me, Candy's story was it just depicted that in so many ways, that she had been through so much pain and an extent of trauma that I don't know that I would have been able to come back out of. And that she could not only come out of it and be a beautiful person and a caring individual and somebody who runs a halfway house and works in an addiction treatment center and is constantly giving in the community. It's just a testament to her bravery and her strength, and that's why I called her the woman of wisdom, because she really is able to share that wisdom with other people, and it resonated for me in just being able to watch the video and we filmed the video here, so to be able to hear her story. So Candy, thank you very much, and I'd like you to come up real quick. If you'd like to say anything real briefly.
When they told me that it was an award, and then I think it was Chris that told me it was the woman of wisdom. I probably never considered myself a woman of wisdom. And so yesterday I was really thinking about this moment whenever you said you want to say something. And all I kept thinking of was all of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of scriptures that I learned and memorized as a little girl, and it kept coming back, and wisdom only comes from God. It only comes from God. And that you can seek knowledge and you can seek, you know, all of those things, but wisdom clearly only comes from God. And to be recognized as a woman of wisdom, I think only shows that it's just the God in me, because I can't get wisdom.
Thank you. Oh, and that's for you. And this is for you. So next, and again, I don't know if I'm going in the right order of slides, but Dave was very wonderful with the clicking, and he's just Best speaker ever. He clicks when we do our secret spirituality service on Sunday night, and he's just really become quite a pro. So, although he doesn't have an award, I appreciate it.
I know.
So the next person I have the thing for, I don't know if it's up there now, is Michelle Rosenthal, who has been a survivor advocate in every way humanly possible, in every media method humanly possible. So she, wrote her book. She has a blog. She writes articles. She has a radio show. So literally every human way that you could relay the sharing of healing, the hope of healing, and the potential for other people is, she's just amazing, and her ability to share her story and really come at it from a place that for me is profound, that where it's personal but it's also professional, meaning that she has the ability to translate again some of that knowledge and awareness and all the things that she was able to cultivate through becoming a professional in the field, and also carry that wisdom and understanding and bravery and strength of somebody that is a survivor of trauma. It's a really profound and beautiful combination. And the fact that she constantly, literally all the time, every day, is just sharing that with everybody everywhere possible is amazing. So she is the awardee of the Survivor Advocate for the year.
Love having you, Mike. I might stay up here for a little while. All right. Well, first I want to say thank you so much, Teresa, for appreciating the work that I do, and I feel so honored and humbled, because really this award is just because I needed to do something. After my trauma, and I felt so changed and altered by it, and because of some things that went on while I was in the hospital, I came out with the belief that I didn't deserve to be alive. And so you can imagine, as a 13-year-old girl who thought she should be dead, that what do you do with that? So I lived for many years saying, well, you should be dead, and so you don't deserve joy, and you don't deserve happiness, and you don't deserve any kind of pleasure, and you really don't deserve to eat or sleep or anything, and I was really pretty nasty to myself. But the one thing that was holding on to me at that time also was, you better do something that makes your survival really worthwhile. And you'd better do something that makes it be that you deserve to be here. And so then I fell off the cliff of post-traumatic stress disorder, and I could barely help myself, much less anyone else. But when I came out of my recovery, I was still driven by that desire to do something that made my experience worthwhile. And so I came out at the age of 40 and decided, what am I going to do now? And it occurred to me, what really was missing in my journey was information. Nobody explained to me, hey, you've been traumatized. Nobody said, you're not crazy. Of course you have nightmares. Of course you don't sleep. Of course you're hypervigilant. You've had a trauma. And I wished, and I thought to myself, if someone had just explained all this to me earlier, I might have healed 2 decades ago. I might not have lost quite so much time, over 25 years, to just struggling with carrying the past. And so that is what motivated me to become the advocate that I am, is to help people who are coming behind me have the information they needed. So thank you so much, Teresa, for honoring me, for doing what's been in my heart since I was 13 years old, which is go out there and make a difference. And the truth is, you can do that, and you can do that, and you can do that, and you can do that. Every single one of us in this room has a story that's meaningful and that has overcome something that if you share it with somebody else could give them hope or inspiration or just the tiniest bit of information they needed to move forward in their own journey. So thank you, Teresa, for giving me this incredibly meaningful award, meaningful in my professional, but also really meaningful and deeply personal. So thank you. I appreciate this, and thank you all. I'm going to take it off. And I'm going to have so much fun. All right.
a woman that I love dearly and has become an amazing friend and confidant, and is just a woman of kindness at every level humanly possible. Reverend Kathleen Gannon, who is a priest at St. Paul's Episcopal Church and is in the community constantly helping to serve all kinds of people in need in all populations. And beyond that sort of like macro level, larger scale, helping and serving, she is constantly a kind ear for anybody that needs it. She just sort of radiates kindness and authenticity and this beautiful spirit that you can't help but share things even when you don't need to share as much as you do. So I wanted to thank Kathleen Gannon as the Woman of Kindness for the year and give her the award and see if she would like to say something.
I have to say two things. One is that here at St. Paul's, we really value kindness. And so for me to receive the Kindness Award is just so important. We have a preschool here at St. Paul's that's been here, it'll be 50 years this coming, when they start the school year in August. And every week, some child, in fact, funny, one from each class, gets caught being kind. It's a way of teaching, and the teachers are fabulous at teaching the children who are 3 and 4 years old to be kind to each other. It's not in our nature, I'm afraid. And so every Tuesday when we're in chapel with the kids, I get to hand out kindness awards. And so for me to receive one is just part of the ethos of this place. And I'm so grateful. I also want to say that all of the words spoken here tonight have been so powerful for me. I'm a cancer survivor. It will be 18 years on March 22nd. And if you know a cancer survivor, you know that they know their date of diagnosis just right off the top of your head. And that each year, as it approaches, you think, okay, could this really be another year that I'm an ovarian cancer survivor. We're very rare, I'm sad to say, but increasingly people are able to survive cancer in a way that our generations know that the prior generations. I lost my mother to cancer, I lost my favorite aunt to cancer. Yeah. You know, it's different now. It's a different disease. But yet it's that one piece of trauma in my life that has made me what I think is a wounded healer. In Teresa's book, she talks about the work of Henry Nouwen, who talks about each one of us, as each of our speakers has said, each one of us has that something that has hurt us, that has hurt our souls, that's changed each one of us. And when we come through that to become survivors, then we're able to be healers from that place of woundedness. And it's a very sacred and divine place. And so I commend each one of you as a healer, each from your own place of woundedness, and each from your own place of grace and joy and peace. Find those moments and share them. Thank you.
Presents, always good. And so the final award, we actually gave one other award, not really in absentia. She just came and left. She had to go very quickly, to Renfrew Center, which is a eating disorder treatment center in Southeast Florida in Coconut Creek, but also nationally. They're a huge center. They are constantly doing free webinars and doing all kinds of things to kind of give back into the community and help serve awareness for professionals, but also for women that are suffering from eating disorders. And so often women that are suffering from eating disorders are also women that have experienced trauma, and if they haven't before they have an eating disorder, the eating disorder itself is a trauma to the body and it's a trauma to the mind. So that in itself is something difficult to surmount, and they do wonderful work to really care for women in that place and to really train people to be adequately caring for people in that place. It's a very unique place to struggle in. And so she came and left very quickly, and they brought all kinds of goodies and donations and tons of protein bars and all kinds of wonderful stuff. And so I gave her award for the Run Through Center and their little gift as she was leaving as well. So there was that agency as sort of a institution that is a business for profit, but that is also a caregiving agency, which I think is as important. And it's harder to be sometimes a business agency and also be a caregiving agency. And then, so the final award goes to an award of appreciation really for the service of Palm Beach County Victim Services and all of the work they do for the entire county-wide victims of all kinds of crimes and violence, and as Ronnie had explained before, just sort of the gamut of things that they are able to do and that they do for people in that really darkest place, in that moment of brokenness, in that very beginning of where you just cannot imagine how you're going to get out of here. And to have support and have people that can provide that care is really a kindness and a blessing, and just a great appreciation of mine and a community appreciation. So I want to say thank you. And Ronnie, if you come up just very quickly.
I'd just like to commend the ladies that spoke tonight. I've really given them a lot of credit for their courage and bravery. Allison, you were wonderful, and you had nothing to apologize for when you kept saying, I'm sorry, but you shouldn't be apologizing. You were great. And I think that it's truly a blessing to be here, and it just has such a positive energy in this room. And I just want to say also that I brought brochures of our program and a safety plan, and please feel free to take them back at the table and share them with any agencies or individuals that you know. Just pass it around and get the word out, because so many people, they don't realize that there's people out there to help them, and they just keep things in, and it's not healthy for them, and they're ashamed and they're embarrassed, and like the book, Broken, and we just need to all help to mend them. And thank you for inviting me here today.
So we're just going to take a couple minutes break. As usual, I'm over on time, but I blame the garlic fest for you guys. Everything. So we may abridge a couple things coming up, and maybe just do a quick reading, and then also a ritual, which I will explain the mystery of the stones in just a little bit. So if you want to take a quick break, grab something to drink, go to the bathroom, smoke break for smokers. Not that I'm promoting it, I'm just saying. And then we'll just come back and we'll get started again.